Welcome to This Explainer. I am so excited to dive into this one with you because today we are exploring the absolutely fascinating sociology of fashion. We're going to uncover exactly how the clothes we buy actually end up in our stores and closets. It's this incredible journey that merges design, economics, and human psychology into one really dynamic system. Have you ever just stared into your closet and wondered, how does a specific style suddenly appear absolutely everywhere? I mean, who actually decides what becomes the next big thing? Is it a group of designers in some secret, smoke-filled room? Or is it something much more organic? To figure that out, we're going to map out the geometry of fashion movement today. We'll start with where trends begin, then we'll dive into the trickle-down, trickle-up, and trickle-across theories, and finally, we'll wrap up by looking at the knockoff economy. All right, section one, where do trends begin? Well, sociological theories actually tell us there isn't just one single origin point for fashion. It's kind of like a giant puzzle. Researchers have found that fashion moves in three distinct geometric directions, and it depends entirely on who sparks that initial trend. So we've got vertical downward movement from the wealthy, vertical upward movement from the everyday masses, and then horizontal movement straight across all social levels simultaneously. Let's break down exactly how each of these works, starting from the top. Section 2, Trickle Down, Elite to Everyday. Okay, so the trickle-down theory. This is probably the most traditional way of looking at fashion. If we go back in history, we're talking about royalty and nobility. They sat at the very top of a pyramid-like societal structure, living these incredibly luxurious lifestyles. Their clothes were so elaborate, they literally needed the help of maids and attendants just to get dressed. Because of that, high fashion was strictly restricted to the highest levels of society. The commoners, well, they could only admire them. They just didn't have the money, and sometimes not even the legal freedom, to wear those kinds of clothes. But over time, those styles would gradually trickle downward to the lower classes through cheaper versions of the designs and fabrics. If we map that historical concept onto today's industry, we basically see a three-step process. First, designers create exclusive couture that requires massive amounts of man-hours and extremely high-quality materials. Second, affluent elites adopt these items. Think of a Gucci or Chanel bag as highly desirable status markers. And finally, because of the massive aspirational value attached to those labels, the design trickles downward into affordable facsimiles or imitations for the everyday masses. Moving right along to section 3, trickle up, streets to runways. Now, let's completely flip the script. The trickle up or bubble up theory shows us that trend inspirations absolutely do not have to start with the elite class. You see, human beings have this endless craving for novelty. Because of that, unconventional styles that are created by the youth just to provoke attention often originate right there, at street fashion. And then, those styles literally bubble up the social strata. So this upward flow happens in a pretty clear sequence. It kicks off with rebellious or unconventional youth experimenting with their street style. Then professional trend spotters step in, they identify the aesthetic and realize it's an actual, culturally significant movement. Finally, that look serves as direct visual inspiration for major designers, who take it and elevate it right onto the exclusive high-fashion runway. And history gives us some fantastic examples of this theory in action. Think about the rugged blue jeans worn during the mid-19th century California gold rush. I mean, today they've totally transformed into premium denim that can cost hundreds of dollars. Or take the black leather motorcycle jacket. It was immortalized by Marlon Brando in the movie The Wild One as this ultimate symbol of rebellious youth. Later on, it was adopted by rock musicians like Jim Morrison and Bruce Springsteen, and eventually made its way into high-end runway shows by designers like Claude Montana. Gianni Versace even famously took the humble safety pin, pulled it straight from the street, and transformed it into a bejeweled accessory for his couture show. Wild, right? Next up, section 4, trickle across, the mass market. All right, the trickle across theory. Some folks call this the mass market theory, and it reveals something entirely unique to our modern era. Instead of a vertical movement, going up or down, fashion information now trickles horizontally. Thanks to high-speed communication, mass media popularization, and mass volume production, independent designers and retail manufacturers can adopt a style at the exact same time across all social classes. For instance, let's look at this beautiful floral lehenga by Sabyasachi Mukherjee. Under the trickle-across theory, a highly popular designer aesthetic like this doesn't take years and years to reach the public anymore. Thanks to lightning-fast mass media and rapid retail turnover, variations of these heavily sought-after designs can spread instantly. They reach consumers at multiple price points almost simultaneously. Which brings us to our final stop, Section 5, the knockoff economy. When we contrast these two worlds, the whole dynamic becomes crystal clear. High fashion relies on an incredibly elaborate, time-intensive process using exclusive materials. But the mass market? That relies on volume production and a blazing fast turnover rate, meaning they rapidly replace existing merchandise with brand new styles. And to pull that off, the industry leans heavily on knockoffs. Whether it's a close copy illegally passed off as an authentic product, or just a similar design without the original label, knockoffs are what allow consumers across all social strata to buy variations of the exact same style. But, as our source material quickly notes, this widespread practice inevitably raises some pretty serious ethical and copyright questions within the industry. So how does this all fit together today? To synthesize everything we've talked about, looking at these three theories side by side gives us a perfect picture of the physical geometry of fashion. We have trickle down, which is driven by exclusivity. We have trickle up, driven by rebellion. And we have trickle across, driven by mass media. The reality is they're actually all happening at once. They are constantly pulling and pushing the trends we see in our daily lives. So as we wrap up this explainer, I've got a little homework for you. Think about your absolute favorite outfit in your closet right now. Think about the geometry of those garments. Did those clothes originally trickle down from the exclusive elite? Did they bubble up from rebellious youth on the streets? Or did they spread horizontally across the mass market at lightning speed? Understanding these invisible lines of movement completely changes the way you look at a simple piece of clothing. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and keep questioning the design around you.